And mainly the question I get is like, Pip, which should I use? Should I go for the Power Fist to upgrade or the Thunder Hammer? So in this one, we're just going to go over and I'm going to tell you guys my opinions. I play a lot, right? Like I play on Ruthless difficulty pretty much 24/7. I'm enjoying Assault a lot currently. So I have been playing with the Power Fist, both on the Assault and the Bulwark as well. So I'm going to start off with the Power Fist and tell you guys my opinions on it. And hopefully this video helps you decide which one you should invest your time to, because let's be honest, it does take some time to upgrade a weapon. So for the Power Fist, guys, first thing you want to know about the Power Fist is that it did get a buff. So its charged attacks deal significantly more damage, but it has to be fully charged attacks, right? Overall, the combinations on the Power Fist are pretty simple. There's no animation canceling, mostly, that you can utilize to make the combinations more interesting or deal more damage. They are easier combinations as well compared to the Thunder Hammer, and it just takes less timing, all that kind of stuff, right? The problem is that the buff that just happened, which is technically supposed to make it much better because significant increase in damage on fully charged hits is a big deal. And when you do land those hits, you'll see just chunks disappear. And it's a really cool feeling. The problem though is that both on the Bulwark and the Assault, while you're charging up these attacks, because essentially that's what the buff is telling you to do, right? Use the fully charged attacks. But like once you are doing those attacks, you're taking a lot of damage and you can still get staggered by bosses in general also. So let's say you're fighting a boss, you start charging up the attack. If they're doing some kind of attack themselves, you need to parry, because if you don't, you will lose that charge, you will be staggered, and you will lose a bunch of HP as well. So there's no defensive mechanism in terms of like taking less damage while you're charging up or not being able to knock you back. So those things are non-existent. And when you have a weapon that is fully relying on full charges, most of the time, that's simply not going to happen. Is there some cases where you're going to pull it off? Yes. But currently, especially boss fights or even elites, don't give you enough time and enough openings to deal those fully charged attacks. And that's where I have the biggest issue with this one. Because like when I'm fully charging and hitting an elite, most of the time you can execute them right after because the damage is huge. Like you go in with a light attack into a fully charged attack and you can execute them very quickly. But the problem is, once again, you're not pulling that off a lot of the times. When it comes to the light combos, it feels like you need many hits to make it work, right? To get an elite executable, for example. Another thing is it doesn't have reach. So you got to be right in the face of your enemy all the time, which, I mean, it makes sense. It's a Power Fist, but we got to go over all of the things that it does or doesn't do well. And that is one of those that really isn't that great. Now let's talk about the Thunder Hammer. And I'm also going to tell you the downsides of it, because it's not like the Thunder Hammer is flawless. But when it comes to animations, I just uploaded a video about the Thunder Hammer where I showcased the animation canceling, which in my opinion makes the Thunder Hammer much better than it is without the said animation canceling. So make sure to check out that video. That will help you out a lot to be more fluid at the combat and deal higher damage. But overall, the Thunder Hammer combos, for example, when you're using the Power Fist, you go heavy into a heavy into a heavy. Obviously, you don't have to, but that's the longest combos for the heavies. With the Thunder Hammer, you can just sprint, go into an attack, which staggers all the time, and then you can straight up with animation cancel, go into Aftershock or Ground Slam. Let's say I'm gonna go into light attack, heavy attack, animation cancel, straight into Aftershock. And that, guys, makes the combat so much more fun. And Ground Slam and Aftershock are really nice compared to the Power Fist attacks because it does have a bigger reach and the AoE area is also effective. So if you're fighting against, let's say, two elites and you manage to pull off the Aftershock with the animation cancel that I mentioned, you'll see that both of them will usually get staggered. One of them can be executable. Sometimes both of them are executable. So all of those things really do make a difference. Reach as well, as I mentioned, right? It's just easier and more simple to use. And you don't always have to be right next to the enemies. Another cool thing about the Thunder Hammer is, for example, if you're doing the Aftershock attack and you see that right like mid-combat, you don't want to do it, you can parry. The cool thing about the Thunder compared to the Power Fist is when you're doing this parry, you can straight in go into another attack and you win a lot of time. Right here, I'm going to go in, animation cancel. That actually worked as a parry, and then straight up go into Aftershock, right? With the Power Fist, it's possible, but it just doesn't give you anything because those attacks are literally the same. Let's say on the assault, you're doing a ground slam, but you're getting hit. You parry, it cancels the animation, and you can straight up go into an aftershock, which is going to be better damage. On the power fist, even if you manage to animation cancel with the parry, you're still going to be doing one of the charged up attacks, which is not as powerful as the aftershock attack, especially if you invest to it and if you have 2 hits on the aftershock attack. So there's a bunch of things that for me personally pull me towards the Thunder Hammer. I feel like if you're investing time and you don't have many hours, I would go for the Thunder Hammer currently. Now, do I think that both of these melee weapons are in a great spot? No, I don't. I think that they overall do need some kind of increase in damage. What they need to do is probably across the board. For example, the Thunder Hammer needs to have like 15 you need to get a hammer with 15 damage instead of like 12 and 10 that we get with fencing. And honestly, even if they do that, they're still not going to be broken or anything. It's just going to feel much more consistent when you use it. When it comes to the assault, they've already mentioned this, and they are going to be changing the class in terms of, you know, how it feels and how it's probably gonna, I don't know what they're going to do exactly, but maybe change up some perks. One of the biggest things I would say that this class needs, I would say any classes that use melee weapons, there has to be some kind of invulnerability window when you're charging heavy attacks. And I'm not saying like take 0 damage, but maybe 50% less damage while you're charging up. No matter what you activate currently in the game, assault will still get knocked back while you're charging up. And that just doesn't feel natural. And it goes against even the buff that the Power Fist got, which is you deal significantly more damage while a fully charged hit, which once again, the damage is fine when you're doing that, bro. It feels really good. If you could combo that, and like if you had the option to, you know what, I'm gonna sacrifice my HP here because I need that burst damage just to go out, right? And that should be our decision to make. And currently it's not, because if you don't parry mid charge up, bosses do insane damage, or even elites, right? So those are the changes I think that the weapons need. If it's going to be perks added to the classes or the weapons itself, I don't know. But I feel like that would make it so much better. When it comes to the assault itself, I think that just giving it another signature ability and having 3 of them instead of 2 would also be great. Those are my thoughts. If you really have, let's say, if you have limited hours a week that you want to invest and you enjoy the assault class, go for the Thunder Hammer. I think that at the moment, first of all, looks cooler. The animations on Aftershock are incredible. The Power Fist is still fun though, don't get me wrong. It's really fun. I use it. I enjoy it. Overall, I feel like it just lacks the reach, the AoE, all that kind of stuff. And even if you pick the perk on the fist itself, where you do get like, it's supposed to be like smashing into the ground and in a 10-meter radius, you should be dealing damage, or that's what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a powerful attack that deals a bunch of damage. It really doesn't do much. So I don't think that this one is in a good state, even with the buff. The buff is cool, but I think mechanically just doesn't work as much. Once again, I think just currently in the game, Thunder Hammer is slightly better.
Let's go! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
I mean, we literally have the best community of all time. Oh! Oh, he got no scoped.